There is still corruption.
There is still corruption, and there may have been cases that must have come to the attention of the president. How come nothing appears to have been done? We haven't heard of people being sacked and hauled before the courts and jailed.
No. That's your opinion. It's very subjective. You know, so many people are under investigation now.
Current office holders.
Absolutely. And you look.
And when are they going to be?
Yeah, because
have their day in court?
It takes time. You could see. Let me give you an example. Oji Uzokalu, who was a governor who left government probably 8 years ago. Now his case could not happen until this time around because of the slow nature of prosecution of corrupt cases. That was why this government came about the Administration of Justice Act to try and speed up. So these things take time. So you need the cooperation of the judiciary, armed force, security agencies, and so on and so forth.
But still not members of the current government, because what I'm trying to say is, you said corruption is continuing, and
not as bad, yes.
Yes, not as bad. So, but we haven't seen examples being shown, like under the Eradua government, when Grange, the health minister, and the permanent secretary were caught in some corruption thing. They were sacked and then hauled before the court. We haven't seen that kind of act under a government that supposedly has made corruption or anti-corruption
in this government too, a whole secretary to the government is being tried now for alleged corrupt practices.
But some will say it's on the slow lane.
Well, so then it's not the fault of the president or the government. These things are in court. And you know how lawyers behave. So that's why I said, look, these things, and the same Nigerians are the ones who will say you are just hounding people because they are in opposition, and so on and so forth.
But these are your members of your own government.
Exactly. So I want you to see that, look, you see, that's why if as a nation, as a people, that we see corruption as corruption, whichever government is in power. Because look, those corrupt officials, filter our resources. And then let us, all of us, agree that corruption is bad for any government. So let us fight it, and let us not support any corrupt practice by any government. And if, there are so many cases that they are not probably high profile, according to you. There are those in private sector that are also being prosecuted in this government. So many, EFCC, ICPC have gotten so many cases of corrupt practices and are being investigated, are being tried in court and so on.
But somehow the communication is faulty because Nigerians don't seem to be aware of this.
Well, there are so many things that we honestly don't go to town with it. But, the day of reckoning will come when we'll reel out all these things that in terms of numbers. And the agents are also doing right. And remember, EFCC were accused of media trial. So the current leadership are trying as much as possible. Remember recently the Desiani issue, where so many photographs went over in newspapers.
Including her underwears.
Yes,
and
exactly.
What have you.
Yes.
And then she hasn't actually had her day in court.
Well, but exactly. This government is trying its best because this woman, she's a fugitive now, and she's been thought after. Someday, one day, she will have her day in court. She will. Not only she, so many of them. Look at the minor who also ran away. He was brought back, and so on. And because she is somewhere in the UK or in the US, where the extradition treaty between us has a lot of processes, legal issues that the government is following. Not only, so many of them have been.
But apart from corruption, there's insecurity.
That's true.
A lot of people, the clear support base of President Muhammadu Buhari in much of the northeast, the northwest, his home region, many people cannot sleep peacefully again. Many people cannot even go home now. People who are living in Abuja and other places, you dare not go on the Kaduna-Abuja expressway freely. Many people now go on the train which has escorts and what have you. This is one of the cardinal issues of the president, apart from anti-corruption, security.
And economy, yeah.
And economy. So why is it so difficult to fix this all these years?
First of all, I concede, yes, we have challenges. That when we came in, before we came in, we had mainly the security challenges in the northeastern part of this country, which you must agree with me. Nigerians also must agree with me, most especially people that live in the northeastern part of the country, that they have been decimated, not completely, eradicated, but to some level. But sadly, unfortunately, now another plank in the northwestern part of the country, north central, also where you have these bandits, this farmer herder crisis, and so on. Yes, it's a challenge to us as a government. And whether the government is doing something about it, yes, the government is doing so much.
But not enough.
Well,
because if you ask the villagers, the people in the communities in Niger State now,
I agree.
where almost on a daily basis people are killed, kidnapped, something in Sokoto, Sabon Birni, Axis, Zamfara, in Katsina, and other places.
Yeah, yes, I just like I said, I concede that there are challenges. But also, part of the problems we're having as a government, the number of the security personnel we have is grossly inadequate. This is a country of about 200 million people. All our security personnel in arms are not up to 500,000.
But this was obvious 6 years ago.
Yeah, what I'm saying, but this government is trying to recruit more hands. Also, equipment that the armed forces, the security agencies didn't have, now they are coming in gradually.
But why is it, sorry to butt in, but why is it that sometimes it's almost impossible for the government to get its act together? The president ordered for 10,000 policemen to be recruited on a 3-year basis, and then the president was sitting and watching the police force and the police service commission arguing about who has the right to do this thing. Meanwhile, people are getting killed, insecurity is improving, and nobody
Yes, unfortunately and sadly also, that's democracy. You do not expect the president to trample on the rights of either police service commission or the Nigerian police. If
but
in their
who is
wisdom
he to protect these institutions or the ordinary Nigerians?
No, of course, ordinary Nigerians, but then through also laws. You can't do these things without following the due process and so on. But that matter has been sorted out now because
so many years after.
Well, yes, I can understand, but it's been sorted out now. So recruitments are ongoing both in the armed forces and the police and so on. And then equipment. Nigeria is now going directly from government to government, to get equipment. And also, sadly, you find out that, like the Tucano aircraft that this government ordered, back in the days, just arrived this year. And they even came with some conditionalities. United States of America put some conditionalities against the use of those equipment. So this government has issues also in trying to go to other places like Pakistan, China, Russia, India, and other places to get this equipment. But whether these equipment are being bought, yes, they are. Whether on a daily basis there are continuous training of the armed forces, yes, they are. But the truth of the matter is they are thinning out. They are thinning out because the issues are in several places which the government is trying to tackle, and the government is doing its best. Whether it's good enough, yes, we probably need to do more.
People the jury has to be out because the ordinary people...
What I'm saying, yes, people are seriously disappointed that we couldn't tackle this security issue, a situation, maybe to allow it to go in one day. Whether we are doing it, yes, we are, but probably in a slower manner. And I hope, and I'm assuring you that we're doing our best, because I know the government, the security agencies keep meeting on a daily basis to strategize and re-strategize to ensure that there is relative peace. And we hope and pray between now and the first quarter of next year, a lot of things will have come to solution.
You sound like a spokesman of the government, yet you hold no formal post in this government. Why is it so?
Yes, you see, I am a spokesperson of this, one of the spokespersons of the government. I have fought tooth and nail to ensure President Buhari comes to power, and I thank God he did. You do not have to have official position to support your party or your government. So that's the kind of role I'm playing, and we are the people driving this government.
But are you disappointed that you do not have a formal post in the government? I mean, many of your colleagues, people who were in the same boat with you, ministers and holding other positions, and here you are defending the government yet with no formal post.
On a personal level, I'm not disappointed, because if I were, I wouldn't be doing... Last night I was on NTA Tuesday Live. In fact, there is no week that will come and pass without me going to speak for the government. So it's not about me. It's about us, our country. And whether I am doing enough for the government, I think I am, and I'm comfortable. And not everybody must be in government. So we are those, playing behind the scene. I mean, I have unfettered access to the president. As I speak to you this evening, I have a meeting with Mr. President, and so on. So
and what do you get to tell him? I mean, with all that you hear, because unlike him, who is cloistered in the villa, in a very sanitized environment, doesn't meet a lot of people, you interact with a lot of people.
Part of things I tell him is this thing that you and I are discussing. That look, people are complaining about the fuel hike, people are complaining about expenses, this and that, problems here and there, insecurity and so on. These are the kind of things we discuss. And then he also shares with us certain concerns, certain handicaps he also has. So wherever we could do, talking to those in authority, telling them what to do, the right thing to do, and some messages that, as you said, he does not get to hear, he hears them from people like us because he knows there is nothing I cannot tell him. Honestly, I tell him the truth because I fear God, my country, and of course, he being my leader. I try to advise him, and God knows he has the ultimate decision. We, as his proteges, will tell him what we think is right. But then remember, as president, you have too many people coming to tell you too many things. So sometimes, in trying to decide or to decipher between the people talking to you, sometimes you make mistakes because you are not infallible. So I can appreciate and understand that Mr. President has so many advisors, also official and like us, unofficial. So, but the ultimate decision lies with him. Sometimes, yes, he could make mistakes.
Do you feel frustrated when you advise him on so many things like this insecurity? People, ordinary people, some of whom actually spend their money on his campaign, contributed when he called for contributions to certain accounts, who cannot even sleep in their houses, whose wives and daughters are being raped, and then he is the president. Do you feel frustrated when you tell him all this, and he seems so constrained, as you are saying? He doesn't seem to be able to do the right thing in time.
Yes, I get frustrated, certainly, because there is something with him, whether it's weakness, that as a Muslim, he trusts people. When he gives you an assignment, he expects you to have the fear of God. So, but we keep telling him that, look, some of these people, you think everybody is like you. Some of these lieutenants of yours don't have the fear of God. There are certain things you assume they know the right thing, they don't get to do it. So we get frustrated when we see some public officers who shirk in their responsibilities. And somewhere along the line, they are still there. So some of the, and there are certain times when you tell him, by the time he explains to you why he takes certain decision, then you say, okay, yes, probably that was why he did what he did. And some of these things are not for public consumption. Let me give you an example. There was a time when the National Assembly called Mr. President to come and speak on security issues.
Yeah.
When they invited him, he prepared his speech. He was going. I single-handedly made him not to go. Single-handedly.
Why?
Good. Because, you see, there are certain truth that if you say it, it will be misconstrued. Because Mr. President is not a politician, the way politics is practiced.
But he's still the elected president.
What I'm saying, you see, he does not garnish. He does not, when he wants to talk, he will talk from his heart, the truth, and nothing but the truth.
So you are trying to package him.
Yes.
So that
that's our work.
The real president, Buhari
listen.
is not obvious.
Yeah, but then he's not a president of himself. He's our president. He didn't elect himself. He didn't market himself alone. We went around to market him. So there are certain things that if we allow him to say. Now, remember when he had his press interview, when he spoke, now they started saying, why did he say this? Why did he hear that? So sometimes...
So did you whisper to him to stop all those media chats?
Yes.
So no more media chats?
No. Of course there will be. Of course there will be.
Well, there hasn't been since the first or so on.
Well, there will be. But what I'm saying is, look at that thing he did with, Arise or This Day, how people misunderstood some of the things that he said. And he said the truth, what he meant by the truth. So going to National Assembly, I was leader of the opposition. I knew if he had gone to that National Assembly, because the members of National Assembly have immunity in the chamber. Because when Obasanjo came, when we were there, we shouted and called all sorts of names,
So
on
you
him.
feared there could be a repeat?
Absolutely. And if we could advise for that not to happen, yes. And then we went and begged them that, look, we're sorry. Our president is so truthful that certain truth rather be, because look, what will, if the president comes to tell you the strategy the armed forces are doing because of the frustration.
Will he be that naive in revealing national
No, but
security
questions
matters?
will be asked. That's what I'm saying. He could maybe garnish a story, read out. There'll be questions and follow-up questions, answers. That's what I mean. We're not talking about, we are not talking about what he was going to read, but the responses of certain questions. I'm speaking from point of opposition now. There are certain things that you will say, and as a human being, you could touch his heart. He could be provoked probably to say the truth. And some, as I said there are certain truths that is better being said by people like us.
So what is the truth about his plans for his successor?
Well, the truth is for him being a Democrat to allow the system to bring about his successor. Of course, he will have interest in who succeeds him, who will continue with his legacy, policies. So, but then he cannot anoint a successor. No, he will not do that. All the persons looking to be president after him will have equal opportunity to contest.
At the moment, there are three main ones. There is Bola Tinubu.
There are more than three.
There is the vice president, and there is the Ekiti governor, Kayode Fayemi. They appear to be the ones who are, but maybe from the point of view of insiders, you know better.
There are so many of them. I can mention, I know about 3-4 ministers that also want to go. There are other party leaders that want to go for it. But you see, in our party now, what is before us is to form the executive of the party. Not.
But you are taking too long in doing that.
Well, we're going to do that by February next year, God willing, because we're doing the horse trading now, to try and cajole and negotiate. And then those that will accept. Those that will not accept and want to leave, you cannot stop them because it's politics. So we're trying to make sure we build the party structure first. But you will not stop people that want, aspire to be president or governors. You can't stop them from, going about looking for patronage from party members.
So he wouldn't support his vice president, and neither will he support Mr. Ahmed Tinubu?
No, he is going to support any candidate that the party put up as his successor. Anyone, anybody. He has as of today, he has nobody amongst those that are aspiring. He has not shown us, he has not shown anybody that, look, this is the person I want to be my successor, because what he in his mind must have somebody in mind. But then if what he has in mind is not going to be the choice of the people? So that's why he's waiting to see what the people are going to suggest. And I'm sure he will show him.
But isn't that a recipe for trouble? Because that's what happened with his former party, CPC, in many states like Kano, and then after the person emerged, probably he didn't want him again.
No. But, well, some of the mistakes that happened during CPC, we are correcting them now. I assure you that Mr. President will support any of the candidates, any of the aspirants who emerges as the candidate. But he will not overtly come out to support anyone, because anybody has the right, even I have the right to want to contest to be president of this country. But
does he have an opinion regarding whether the presidency remains in the north or goes to the south?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have that opinion yet, no.
What about you?
Personally?
Yes.
Personally, I'm going to go with my party, whatever my party decides. There are two different schools of thought. There are members of our party who said, look, why don't you wait and see what PDP does? If PDP put a candidate in the north, you should also put in the north. If they put in the south, they put in the south. Because probably if you have a candidate from the north and south, probably there will be further division in the country. Those are all arguments people are saying. But then my party, whatever my party decides, and then it will be unfair if I am one of the leaders of this party. I cannot go on a national television to tell you my personal opinion on whom or where I want the presidency to be zoned to. But I will have an input, of course. But then wherever the majority decision of the party goes, I will go with it, even if I like it or I don't.
What about the bloc of the governors, who seems to be some of the power brokers within the party? including even the governor who is holding the party for now?
Well, the governors they're entitled to their opinion also, and I'm sure they also have their own plan, whom they would want to succeed President Buhari. But then the governors are also a bloc within the party leadership. There are other blocs too. You just mentioned Bola Tinubu. He's also a bloc. You know, the Amechi of this world, the Ekiti governor of this world, Rochas Okorocha, all of them, they're all there trying to aspire. So they're also blocs. So all these aggregate interests of each and every bloc will be put into consideration before final decision of who takes over as our candidate is made.
But it's more like a waiting game, because you are saying that maybe your party will wait until it sees who opposition.
What I told you was that exactly. I didn't tell you my party is waiting. Of course, my party is not waiting, but then my party also has strategy in poking into the affairs of the other opposition party, because it's all part of the. Just like I'm sure they are also looking into our party to see what we're doing. So it's part of the game. So it's part of what people are saying, that we should wait and see. But whether we will do that, I don't know. There are other people who are saying, look, just pick a candidate from the south, because a northern candidate Buhari is from the north. And there are those who are saying, take from the north, because the north has more votes, for APC at least, and so on. So there are all different.
What about the whispered agreement that Buhari will support Tinubu when he's on tenure?
It is not true. Anybody who tells you there was an agreement is not true.
No verbal or non-written. Nothing.
No. Let me tell you.
Or gentleman agreement, you mean?
No, listen. I was the returning officer of President Buhari as a candidate in 2014 in Lagos when he emerged as a candidate. There was no such agreement. But what we concede was that Bola Tinubu brought almost 100% of the votes from the southwest part of this country in 2014. Because the votes from northwest, where I remember Kwankwaso was the governor of Kano, some votes from Katsina, Kano, Jigawa, Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara went to Governor Kwankwaso. But the southwest bloc came all because of Tinubu to Buhari to emerge as president. So that is true. It happened. And then Tinubu also supported the president all through. That's the truth. But whether there was an agreement is not true. There was no agreement that Buhari will hand over to Tinubu as a candidate. No. But of course you cannot mention the success of President Buhari emerging as a candidate, also winning the election 2015 and then 2019 without mentioning the contribution of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yeah.
Honorable Adamu Aliyu, thank you very much. We'll stop on that note and probably carry on with the conversation another day.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers. We've come to the end of this edition of 30 Minutes with Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu, a former member of the Nigerian House of Representatives, a leader of the minority group, and also a businessman and a close ally of President Muhammadu Buhari. Keep a date with us for another edition.